I never planned to keep a secret from my parents, but sometimes life puts you in a corner where silence feels safer than the truth. And that is exactly what happened the day I bought the apartment. A place I thought would give me peace, freedom, and maybe a little happiness. But I had no idea. The moment I turned the key for the first time, I wasn't the only one watching. Something, or someone, already knew. I still remember that morning, the city lights fading into sunrise, my phone buzzing non-stop with bankers, agents, and documents that felt endless. I was exhausted, overwhelmed, but also proud. I had worked for years, quietly, consistently, refusing to ask anyone for help. Nobody knew how hard it had been, how much I had sacrificed. So, when the final payment went through and they handed me the keys, I felt something new in my chest. Relief, freedom, a life completely my own. But that feeling didn't last long, because the moment I entered the apartment, the hair on my arms stood straight up. The air felt too still. The silence felt too heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. I told myself I was overthinking, that first-time buyers were always emotional, but deep down, something felt wrong. Something felt watched. I brushed it off. I had no intention of telling anyone yet. Not my friends, not my cousins, not even my parents. Not until everything was settled, not until the furniture arrived, not until I felt grounded. But life doesn't wait for perfect timing. Later that evening, I received a video call from my mother. She rarely video called me first, and when she did, she always smiled. But this time, her face looked different, serious, calm, almost rehearsed. "How was your day?" she asked. "Good," I lied. "Just a normal day." Her eyes didn't blink. They didn't move. They just watched me, like she knew exactly what I wasn't saying. "Are you sure?" she asked again, her voice strangely soft. I froze for a second. Did she know? No, there was no way. "Yeah," I replied. "Everything's normal." And that's when she said it. When she calmly delivered the sentence that made my heart stop, a sentence that made me drop the phone, a sentence that shattered every piece of certainty I had left. "We know about your apartment and—" She paused. Her lips trembled. Her eyes became wet. And then she whispered the part that changed my life forever. "And we need to talk about who visited it before you ever moved in." That was the moment everything shifted. My excitement turned into confusion. My pride turned into fear, and my secret turned into a doorway to something much bigger. Something I wasn't prepared for, because I thought I was hiding something from my parents, but they were hiding something much bigger from me. A secret that didn't just start with my new apartment, a secret that went back years, a secret connected to a person I never thought I'd hear about again, someone I thought was gone from our lives forever. And now, for the first time, my parents were ready to tell me the truth, a truth that would not only shake our family, but push me into a storm of betrayal, revenge, and revelations I never saw coming. This was just the beginning. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. My mother's words kept repeating in my mind, like an echo trapped in a tunnel. "We know about your apartment, and we need to talk about who visited it before you ever moved in." It made no sense, absolutely none. I had received the keys only hours before. No one, not a single person, knew the address. I had kept everything private, locked away like a secret diary. So how could anyone have visited it? And how could my parents possibly know? The next morning, I drove to my parents' home. I didn't even remember how I reached there. My mind felt foggy, heavy, confused. As I stepped inside, the house felt strangely quiet. Not the usual warm, welcoming silence, more like a tension-filled pause before something heavy is revealed. My father was sitting in the living room, holding a cup of tea that had clearly gone cold. He looked up at me, not with anger, not with disappointment, but with a kind of tired sadness I had never seen on his face. My mother sat beside him, her hands folded tightly in her lap, eyes swollen from crying. "Sit down," my father said. His voice was steady, but too steady, like he was holding himself together by force. I sat, my heart beating so loudly I could hear it in my ears. No one spoke for several seconds. Finally, my mother exhaled deeply, as if she had been holding her breath all night. "We didn't want to tell you like this," she began, her voice trembling. "But after what happened yesterday, we can't remain silent anymore." "What happened yesterday?" I asked, my confusion growing. "And how do you even know about the apartment?" My father exchanged a look with my mother, the kind of look people share when they finally decide to reveal the truth they've been hiding for too long. "Because," he said slowly, "we saw him." I frowned. "Saw who?" He hesitated for a moment, then spoke the name I hadn't heard in years, a name I hoped I would never hear again. "Your uncle, Harris." The air in the room froze. For a second I forgot how to breathe. My Uncle Harris. The man who disappeared from our lives without a trace. The man who caused more pain to our family than anyone else. The man whose betrayal almost destroyed my father. He was the last person I ever expected to be connected to my new apartment. He wasn't supposed to know anything about my life. He wasn't supposed to come back. Ever. "What do you mean you saw him?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. My mother's eyes filled with tears. "A day before you got the keys, he visited the building. He walked around the hallway, the same floor where your apartment is. He didn't knock. He didn't enter. But he stood there for a long time, just looking at your door." My skin went cold. How did he even know it was mine? "He shouldn't have," my father said quietly. "That's what scares us." I leaned back on the sofa, trying to control the surge of emotions rising inside me. Anger, confusion, fear, questions that refused to stop multiplying. Why would he come back now, after all these years, after everything he did to us? My father looked away, jaw clenched. "He didn't come back for us," he said. "He never does. He only comes back for something he wants." "And what does he want from me?" I snapped. Silence. My parents didn't answer, or maybe they couldn't. My mother wiped her tears and finally spoke. "There is something you need to know. Something we kept hidden from you because we didn't want your life to be affected by his mistakes. But now, with him showing up again, you deserve to know the truth." My father nodded, the weight of years pressing on his shoulders. "Your uncle didn't just betray me," he said quietly. "He betrayed the entire family, and everything started long before you were old enough to understand." I swallowed hard. "Tell me," I whispered. "Tell me everything." My mother reached out and held my hand. Her fingers were cold. You buying an apartment and him appearing there isn't a coincidence. He's connected to it, to that building, to something hidden inside those walls. I stared at her, unable to process what she was saying. "What are you talking about?" My father leaned forward, his voice lowering into a tense, controlled tone. "There's a reason he came back after all these years. A reason he stood outside your new apartment. He didn't come to congratulate you. He didn't come by accident. He came because..." He paused. His breath shook. "Because your apartment used to belong to someone he was involved with." I blinked, stunned. "What? Who?" My father looked me directly in the eyes. "A person who vanished right after your uncle disappeared." The room felt colder, heavier. My heartbeat pounded like a drum inside my chest. "What are you saying?" I asked, my voice cracking. My mother squeezed my hand. We tried to protect you from this, but the truth is connected to your apartment, and now that your uncle is back, you're part of it whether you want to be or not." My father sighed. "It's time you know what really happened." And in that moment, everything stood still, because I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about my apartment. This wasn't about a secret purchase. This wasn't even about my uncle suddenly returning. This was about a history buried deep in my family. A past filled with betrayal, disappearance, and unfinished business. And my parents were finally ready to tell me the story I was never supposed to hear. I sat there, my heart hammering, as my parents exchanged a glance that carried decades of pain. I had expected them to be upset with me for hiding the apartment, but instead they seemed exhausted, like they had been carrying a weight far heavier than anything I could imagine. My mother took a deep breath and began to speak. Her voice was soft but steady, almost trembling under the weight of the story she had kept inside for so long. "Before you were born," she began, "your father trusted someone completely, someone he believed was part of our family, part of our lives. But that trust was broken in a way that almost destroyed everything we worked for." I listened, my stomach tight, my palms sweating. I had no idea what they were talking about, but I could feel the tension in the room, the kind that makes you sit still and lean in even when you don't understand why. "That man," my father added, his voice low and quiet, "betrayed us. He took advantage of our trust, our love, and our family. He tried to ruin my career, my reputation, everything I built, and he almost succeeded." I swallowed hard. My mind was racing. Who could this be? I tried to picture anyone in our lives who could do something so terrible, but I came up blank. It was like a shadow had been lurking in my family's past, one I had never noticed until now. My mother's eyes filled with tears. "We didn't tell you before because we wanted to protect you. We thought if you grew up away from this, you'd be safe. But now that you're involved, you need to know the full story." I leaned back, trying to process. "Involved? How am I involved?" She hesitated, then whispered the words that made my blood run cold. "Your apartment. It's in a building he controls, the same building, and he knows someone like you lives there now." I felt my chest tighten. My apartment, the place I thought was mine and mine alone, wasn't just mine. It was connected to him. Someone from my family's past, someone dangerous, someone who had caused untold pain, and now I was standing right in the middle of it. "Why now?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Why come back after all these years?" "He never really left," my father said. "He waited. He watches. He plans, and sometimes he tests." I could feel anger rising in me, but also fear. I wasn't a child anymore. I wasn't someone who could run and hide, but I also wasn't naive. I knew that being careless could bring disaster, and yet I had to face him. I had to protect myself, my apartment, my life, and my family's future. My mother reached over and took my hand. "You need to understand something," she said softly. "The choices you make now will determine how this story ends. But no matter what, we believe in you. We trust you to handle this, as we never could." Her words gave me strength, but the storm inside me was just beginning. I left their house that evening feeling a strange mix of fear, anger, and determination. I knew I couldn't run. I knew I couldn't ignore what was happening. I had to act, and I had to act smart. That night, I returned to my apartment and looked around at the quiet, empty space. It had felt like freedom before, but now it felt fragile, like a glass ornament in a hurricane. I began to plan, Step by step, every detail, every possibility, every weakness I could exploit if I needed to protect myself. I would not let him control me or my life. I installed cameras, I changed locks, I documented every strange message, every unusual movement. If he wanted to watch me, I would watch him too. I researched him, studied his history, his business connections, his reputation. I began piecing together the puzzle my parents had shielded me from all these years, and then slowly it began to make sense. The moved doormat, the open window, the texts. It wasn't random, it wasn't paranoia. It was him. My parents were right. He had been waiting, watching. And now he had found me. I realized something chilling. This wasn't just about my apartment. This wasn't just about me. It was about trust, about betrayal, about years of secrets and lies, and I had walked right into it, unprepared but determined to survive. The first night I stayed in the apartment after knowing the truth, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining shadows moving along the hallway, footsteps that weren't mine, eyes watching from a distance. My phone buzzed several times, messages appearing from numbers I didn't recognize. Nothing threatening, just reminders that he was there, that he was aware, that I was now part of a story that had begun long before I was even born. And that's when the decision formed in my mind. I wasn't going to let fear control me. I wasn't going to be another victim of his schemes. I was going to fight, not with violence, but with strategy, with intelligence, with the kind of patience and planning that would leave him exposed. That night, I made a vow to myself. If he thought he could manipulate me or my family, he was wrong. I wasn't just going to defend my apartment, I was going to uncover everything, every lie he had told, every betrayal he had hidden, every secret he had thought would never come to light. And when the time came, he would see that the child he never knew existed had grown into someone he could not control, someone he could not touch, someone who would fight back with truth as a weapon. That was the night everything changed. The night my apartment became more than a home. It became a battlefield, a puzzle, a story that was mine to write, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The next few days were the most tense of my life. I moved through the apartment like a detective in my own home, checking every corner, every window, every lock. I couldn't tell if I was paranoid or just being cautious, but one thing was clear. I wasn't leaving anything to chance. Each small detail mattered. The open window from last week? Fixed. The slightly moved doormat? Now secured with a camera positioned to catch anyone who touched it. I even changed my patterns. When I left, when I returned, how I answered messages. Nothing would be left to luck or error. I started going through my father's old files, documents he had stored carefully in a locked cabinet. Letters, contracts, emails, things my uncle had done that had shaken our family years ago. Every page I read made my blood boil. He had betrayed my father in ways I hadn't even imagined. Not just stealing business ideas, but manipulating people, destroying reputations, and making sure anyone who might stand up to him was silenced. And here I was, a young adult, standing in the same building, facing the same shadow of his schemes. I spent hours on my laptop, mapping out his network, his influence, everything I could find online, in public records, and from my parents' old notes. I started documenting my apartment incidents too, every unusual noise, every unknown text, every strange person in the hallway. I saved screenshots, video clips, timestamps. I realized quickly that the more careful I was, the more I understood how methodical he was. This wasn't random, it was deliberate, and that made it personal. But I didn't let fear take control. I knew I had to turn the situation to my advantage. I decided to play a long game. I wouldn't confront him directly, not yet. I wouldn't make it obvious that I knew he was involved. I would gather proof, expose his actions publicly, and make sure there was no way for him to hide. I realized that revenge in this situation wasn't about anger or immediate retaliation. It was about intelligence, patience, and strategy. I started leaving small signs that I was aware. I would be home when he thought I wasn't. I would answer messages carefully, hinting that I knew more than I let on. I even staged a few moments, doors slightly open, lights on at unusual hours like I was aware of being watched. I could almost feel him noticing, almost feel the slight frustration radiating from somewhere in the building, and it gave me a strange thrill knowing I was no longer the target. I was the one controlling the story. Then one night, it happened. A shadow moved outside my apartment door. My heart skipped a beat. The lights were off, but the camera caught him. It was him, my uncle. I watched quietly, barely breathing, as he lingered, his posture tense, cautious but confident. He had no idea that I was recording everything, every step he took. Every glance he threw at the apartment was documented. Every action became a piece of the puzzle I would use against him. I began drafting my plan in my mind, step by step. I would compile evidence, but I wouldn't release it impulsively. I would wait until it was perfect, until it hit him where it mattered most. The truth had to be undeniable. I wanted to expose him in a way that didn't require confrontation or violence, just clarity and consequence. I wanted him to see that his past, his manipulations, and his betrayals had finally caught up with him. Days turned into nights as I worked tirelessly, reviewing every detail, every incident, every document. I even reached out discreetly to a few trustworthy contacts in business and law, anonymous tips that hinted at his actions without revealing my involvement. The network of deception he had built over the years was vast, but I was patient, careful, and meticulous. I felt the tension building, knowing that the moment I acted, everything could change. I also had to keep up appearances for my parents. They were worried, naturally. They didn't know the full extent of my plan. They only knew I was cautious and working late. I never told them how close I was to uncovering the entire story, how I was turning the tables. Protecting them while planning my counter-strategy became my silent mission. I wasn't just fighting for myself, I was fighting for them too. Finally, after weeks of preparation, I saw the opening I had been waiting for. My uncle had a major business presentation scheduled. Investors would be present. The media would be there. This was the perfect moment to release the evidence I had gathered. But I didn't rush. I reviewed everything one last time, making sure there were no mistakes. The files, the videos, the proof of his manipulations, they had to be clear, undeniable, precise. On the day of the presentation, I stayed at my apartment, watching, waiting, heart racing. I released the evidence anonymously through a trusted channel that guaranteed exposure without revealing my identity. Within minutes, the information spread. People began questioning him. Partners hesitated, investors pulled back, and he didn't know why. He couldn't see the source, he couldn't control the narrative. For the first time in decades, he felt uncertainty, fear, and the weight of consequences. Then the calls started, from people in his network asking questions he couldn't answer, from partners seeking clarification, from those who had once trusted him blindly. And still he didn't know it was me. But I could feel it, his confidence cracking, his composed exterior faltering. The man who had manipulated and betrayed for years was suddenly on the defensive, scrambling to hold on to a reality he no longer controlled. It was surreal to watch. Not out of cruelty, but out of justice. I wasn't seeking revenge in the typical sense. I wasn't angry. I wasn't trying to humiliate him publicly. I was correcting a wrong, exposing the truth and reclaiming the power that had been stolen from my family long before I existed. And as the night ended, I realized that I had not just defended myself, I had rewritten the story that my parents had been forced to live under for decades. The next few days were unlike anything I had experienced before. Every notification on my phone felt like a drumbeat, every email a pulse of tension. The evidence I had released was spreading faster than I had imagined. I wasn't hiding anymore, I was controlling. I watched as people I had never met began piecing together the truth about my uncle, and I watched as he, for the first time in his life, realized that control was slipping through his fingers. It was during one late evening, sitting on my apartment balcony with the city lights flickering below, that I finally felt a strange calm. I had been pacing, planning, preparing for confrontation, but there was none. There didn't need to be. I had done something stronger than confrontation. I had given him what he feared most: exposure. The shadows that had haunted my family for years were finally being brought to light. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. My uncle appeared in the lobby of my building, calm, confident, but I could see the tension in his posture. He had no idea I knew he was coming. No idea I had tracked him, documented him, and prepared for this moment. He tried to speak, a half smile on his face, but there was hesitation behind it. "I know someone released information," he said quietly. "Someone knows everything." I leaned against the wall, keeping my distance, my heart steady. "Do you?" I asked calmly. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. He studied me, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "I don't know who it is. Could be anyone. Could be the past catching up." I smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. "The past always catches up," I said softly. "It just waited for the right moment." He didn't respond. For the first time, he had no answer, no strategy, no control. And that moment was enough. That alone was justice. It wasn't violent, it wasn't cruel, it wasn't loud, but it was final. He realized that the years of manipulation, betrayal, and deception had finally been dismantled, carefully, methodically, and irrevocably. After that night, the tension began to fade. My apartment returned to its intended purpose: a home, a safe place, a refuge. I felt a weight lift from my chest. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I had honored my parents, their struggles, and the history that had shaped us. I had proved to myself that courage doesn't always roar. It often whispers, waits, and strikes with precision. My parents were relieved when I told them I had handled the situation. They didn't need to know every detail, but they knew I had protected myself and our family. Their eyes held pride, and for the first time in years, the shadow of fear that had lingered around us seemed to vanish. And yet there was a lesson I carried with me long after the drama ended. Life, I realized, is rarely fair. People will betray you. Circumstances will challenge you, and sometimes the battles we face aren't even visible to the world. They're quiet, internal, personal. But strength isn't about fighting every battle with anger. Strength is about patience, intelligence, and timing. Strength is about turning fear into action, secrets into clarity, and betrayal into a lesson for the future. I never imagined that a simple secret, buying an apartment, would lead me here. I never imagined that I would uncover family secrets, face a shadow from the past, and orchestrate a strategy that changed everything. But I did. And now my apartment isn't just a space I own. It's a symbol of independence, courage, and the truth that I refuse to let anyone take from me. Looking back, I understand now why my parents hid the past. They weren't trying to control me. They weren't trying to keep me ignorant. They were trying to protect me from a shadow that had taken too much already. And in facing it myself, I learned something deeper than revenge or justice. I learned that freedom comes from knowledge, courage, and the willingness to act when the time is right. Sometimes, the greatest battles we face aren't against other people, they're against fear itself. And sometimes, the greatest victories aren't in retaliation, they're in reclaiming your life, your choices, and your future. As I sit in my apartment now, looking out at the city skyline, I feel a quiet pride. Not in the fear I faced, not in the revenge I orchestrated, but in the realization that I am capable of protecting myself, capable of facing the past, and capable of creating a future where shadows don't dictate my life. And maybe that's the real lesson. Not about betrayal, not about revenge, not about secrets, but about strength, patience, and the courage to face the things we never thought we could. Because in the end, the apartment isn't just a home, it's a testament to what I've survived, what I've learned, and what I've refused to let the past take away. And for the first time, I feel truly free.